Welcome to Game On NTX with your host Bill Lawhn. Normally John Mitcham is joining me, but he is out on vacation with his family, so we're gonna do this solo tonight. Let's hope for a good show. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that our show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth's hub for private offices, co-working, meeting spaces, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. All right, let's dive right into this. Let's start out with the Texas Rangers. This roller coaster season continues. They played 4 extra inning games in a row before last night's big win. It's if the bullpen isn't blowing a lead, it seems to be our offense. Just can't seem to get hits with runners in scoring position. It's one or the other, and you can't seem to put it all together. And at this rate, they keep falling further behind the division leaders, further out of the wild card. They're not too far out of the wild card, but I mean, at this point, do you really want to be a buyer when you don't know for sure how this is going to go? Jacob deGrom last night, another phenomenal start, continues a string of them. He should be the American League Pitcher of the Month. He led the league in so many categories over the last month. It's been incredible. Like I said, you've got a rash of injuries going down now with Tyler Mahle going on the 60-day deal. That's going to really hurt the team. But they have to find some balance with the clutch hitting and the pitching, because you just don't you win with one or the other.
Pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
All right, welcome in tonight to Game On NTX, brought to you by it's on NTX Radio here. I want to let everybody know before we get started that today's show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth's hub for private offices, co-working, meeting space, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. All right, let's jump right in here. It's normally John would be joining me tonight, but he is away on a family vacation, so we wish him all the best. We're going to start off with a little bit of Rangers. It's been an up and down roller coaster season, just like it was over the last weekend and early in the week here. They played 4 straight extra inning games, only one of which they won. It's either the bullpen blowing the lead or the offense just can't get the timely hit when we get runners in scoring position. Last night was a different story. They looked great. Jacob deGrom continued to pitch outstanding. But, you're only 3.5 out in the wild card. But are you confident in making a move to try and add to your team? I don't know. That's the question that Chris Young and the rest of the front office has to ask each other. Are we going to be a legitimate contender? The pieces are here for this team to be better, but it just has not come together this year, and that's the quandary that you're in right there. I would love for them to be able to add something, for them to show some signs of life. Hopefully, last night will be a harbinger of things to come. They did make a huge move today because third baseman Josh Young, who's an extremely talented young man, they sent him down to the minors to try and get his swing right, to get his head right, because he just hasn't been playing anywhere near the level that he is capable of. So let's hope the Rangers can get one tonight and split the series with Baltimore and continue on and pick this hot streak up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Stars finally have a coach. I don't know how a lot of people are excited about it or not. My first glance was I'm not super excited. I kind of wanted to see Neil Graham from the Texas Stars, the Stars minor league affiliate. I kind of wanted to see him get hired. And he did get hired, but he's an assistant to new head coach Glenn Gulletson. It's a bit of a homecoming for Gulletson. He was here in 2013. He was here for 2 years. He wasn't in the best situation because at that time the team was going from being league controlled to finally finding an owner, and he was let go after just 2 seasons. One of those was a lockout shortened season. He went on and coached Calgary for a couple of years. It was their head coach, and the last 7 years he spent in Edmonton, and they have historically good power plays. And of course, it does help that you have two of if not the best 2 players in hockey in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. A lot of people would say, well, everybody can be good at the power play with those 2 guys. What I do know of Gulletson is positive. His players like him. He's tough-minded, and his this power play that we talked about. They say he's a savant. I don't know about that. I guess time will tell. What I have heard that I do like about him is he's got a 3-pass rule off the face-off. Within 3 passes, the puck should be going to the net. That breeds aggressiveness. You just have to watch and try. You have to get somebody in front of the net, and you can't force shots. So hopefully that won't lead to that. They did make a few other moves. They're up against it contract wise, so they had to start getting rid of some salary. And what they brought back, they had to not bring back too much. Mason Marchment was traded the other day for some draft picks. We probably already covered that on the last show. But you lost the likes of Mikhail Granlund, Cody Ceci, and Yevgeny Dodonov to free agency. They signed elsewhere. Some of them were actually good deals. A couple of them, I think the teams overpaid for them, but we will see on that. They were able to re-sign a couple of their guys, good players, Matt Duchene, Colin Blackwell. Captain Jamie Benn is coming back on a 1-year deal. It's incentive laden, so he has a chance to make significantly more with games played and goals scored. But it's going to be you don't know what you're going to get from him on the ice. He's going to play hard, and you would expect him. His skills have diminished. You would expect him to drop down a line or two, and hopefully still bring what he brings in the locker room, which is good quality leadership. And a team with a coaching change, you're going to need it. They also re-signed Maverick Bork, Nils Lundqvist, both good players. Both are helpful. They did have one free agent signing, Radek Faksa, who once again it's a bit of a homecoming for Radek too. He was here a couple of years ago. They let him go. They re-signed him. He does bring toughness. I think that's gonna help, obviously, because this team they kind of have a soft label. And that's not a label that you want in any sport, especially not sports like hard contact sports like football or hockey. But so they're hopefully Roddick coming back, and he can bring a little bit of toughness there. Blackwell's a tough-minded player, and maybe Glenn Gulletson this time around in Dallas, maybe he'll have a better chance to be successful. They still have the core. I think there's still other moves to be made. I think at some point you have to get off of Jason Robertson's contract. He's an extremely talented player, but he doesn't seem to show up when it counts. They need him, and in the playoffs, he didn't step up. He's great in the regular season, scores a lot of goals, does a lot of good things for you. But I mean, you have to have more in the playoffs because that's when the lights are brightest. You can't wilt. And in my opinion, while being incredibly talented, he's a little bit too passive. You have to have somebody that's got a lot of fight in him, that not afraid to drop the gloves within reason. But that has to be something that they have to look at, see what they can get for Robertson. I don't know how much you're going to be able to get back. His contract's I don't think it's untenable, but they still have to shed some salary, especially after signing Mikko Rantanen last year when they traded for him, signing him to a big, like $96 million contract. As some of you know, the salary cap in hockey is nowhere near as big as it is in some of the other sports, and so you are even more limited in the funds that you can pay. So 8 and 96, that's a very large payout, and you have to build your roster around somebody taking up a huge portion of that cap. Florida, team that has won back-to-back Stanley Cups, somehow has managed to bring everybody back from that team. I'm sure some of the guys there, some of their players, they see a great situation. They're winning. They took a little bit of a discount to stay there. And no one can blame them. Florida also, much like Texas, Florida doesn't have state income tax, so you're not losing extra money. And if you're from an area, unless you love snow, if you're from an area like Canada or the northern United States that has snow so often, you're down in Miami, Florida. It's beautiful. You're making a great living. You're winning championships. I can't blame anybody for wanting to stay in that situation. It would be ideal, but the rest of the league is going to play catch up with them. Edmonton has a decision to make with Connor McDavid. Leon Draisaitl already makes $14 a year. You're probably going to have to pay McDavid $17. So you're going to have two players taking up a third of your cap. So we'll see how Edmonton can build around those two. Bargain signings, whatever. They've already lost Corey Perry, which I'm not unhappy about. He was a thorn in the Stars' side and has been for a long time. But he's the kind of player you love to have on your team. But when he plays against you, you hate him. But those are great players like that. So let's see what Glenn Gulletson has. I'm going to say patience because I'm not sure myself. I usually know enough about hockey to get me in trouble, but I do love the sport. And from what I've heard is the word I've heard with Gulletson is meh. But I'm just going to say patience. Give the man a chance, see what he does. It's much like Brian Schottenheimer with the Cowboys. You don't know what you're going to get from him, and that's you just got to be patient with these guys, especially when they don't have the head coaching experience, which Gulletson does. But he's been an assistant for longer than he's been a head coach in this league. We'll see what he has. All right, let's get into the meat of this. We're NBA free agency started this week, and the Mavericks, they did make one signing. They have a glaring hole at point guard right now with Kyrie Irving out with a torn ACL. He should come back somewhere December, January, February, not sure. But even then, he's going to take some time to work back in. So you're going to need a passable starter. You don't need a star there because you have so much offensive firepower to score. You just need someone that's going to make good decisions, work on defense a little bit, and anything you get scoring wise is a bonus. In that vein, they signed D'Angelo Russell. I don't know that I love this signing. I would love to see someone like Colin Sexton, but I don't think that was realistic. D'Angelo Russell, he's a talented player. He can score the basketball. He's a solid passer. I think he could be very productive in this system when you don't need a lot from him. Now he's played for several teams, and if it's behavior issues or contract issues, whatever it is, he's a talented player, but he's kind of worn out his welcome in a couple of places. But he's a free agent here. He believes in what we're doing, and when Kyrie does come back and he's full strength, Russell will slide back into a bench role, and that's one thing about this Mavericks team. Yes, they are an oft-injured bunch. But you see that the players that they have on the floor, they are so deep. They have depth in your front court. With D'Angelo Russell, when he does slide back to the bench, you're going to roll out a bench of D'Angelo Russell, P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall, just deep, talented players. The Mavericks, as we talked about last week, the Mavericks did make Cooper Flagg the number one overall draft pick, and the way he fits into this team, I believe it's going to be a beautiful thing. He's got veterans to learn from. He's not going to be asked to carry the load right away. Head coach Jason Kidd joked at the press conference about him being, we're going to make him uncomfortable right away. So I think they're going to put the ball in his hands. He may play a little point forward like the Bulls used to do with Scottie Pippen back in the 90s, which honestly I think Cooper Flagg is more than capable of doing that. He's a wildly talented player. He works. Anything you tell the guy, he's a sponge. He will absorb it. He will learn from it, and he will grow. He's what you want in a basketball player, and I believe his ceiling is unlimited. So you bring him into that great situation like that, and Mavericks fans coming in, you cannot expect this man to be Luka Doncic. He is not that type of player. Luka was a scorer supreme. He was a triple-double machine. Cooper Flagg is not, I don't know if you would call him a savant, but he is an extremely talented player. But the thing is, to me, the major difference is Luka's a pure scorer. Cooper's going to get his points and get them in a variety of ways, but he's going to hustle his butt off. He's going to defend like a madman, which that was never. I won't say that was not Luka Doncic's strong suit. That was something that I believe he might have barely known what it was. But from Cooper Flagg, you're going to get a well-rounded player who I believe will continue to grow. And when these older guys like Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, when they are ready to hang it up, when they are ready to hit the road here, you're gonna build around Cooper Flagg. Hopefully he's that kind of player that you need. He's, like I said, I'm excited about the future of the Mavericks now. Honestly, I did not, after the Luka trade last year, I was upset. I was angry. I did not watch another game. I would love to see Luka Doncic do well personally. I'm obviously not a Lakers fan. I don't want to see them do well at all. But, as a young man, I like Luka a lot. I think he's a good guy. I think he really loved it here, and he was as shocked as heck when they traded him. I will say this about the Mavericks front office. Nico Harrison, he said at the press conference, "Now you see my vision." He did not know they were going to wind up with the first pick when they traded Luka Doncic. And I'm not upset about about them moving on from Luka Doncic. I don't like that part, but I could see it. I think what most of the fans are upset about is the return you got. You didn't shop him. You had maybe one other team you talked to. You didn't shop him. You didn't get a lot for him. Nico Harrison, like I said, he said, "This is my vision." You really, I don't know how you saw this vision when you didn't know you were going to have the first pick in the draft, when you traded away a franchise icon, global superstar in his prime for granted, Anthony Davis, phenomenal player. When he's right, he's incredible. But keeping him healthy is the key. If this team is healthy, this team is dangerous, this team is loaded, this team is deep. And even last year with a depleted roster, they still managed to push Oklahoma City and beat Oklahoma City a couple of times last year. Now, granted, I'm not saying that they could beat Oklahoma in a series, in a 7-game series. I'm not saying that at all because, Oklahoma City just won the championship. They have the league MVP. They have a very deep roster as well. They have added to it in the draft. But I think that it is entirely possible for the Mavericks to beat them in a 7-game series if they play well. If everybody's healthy and they play well, I believe they can do it. And going into this league, I think going into the league this year, I think it's the Western Conference. I think whoever comes out of the West has a really good shot to win the championship. The Celtics lost Jason Tatum. The Indiana Pacers lost Tyrese Halliburton, and to make matters worse with the start of free agency, they lost starting center Miles Turner to the Bucks. He's going up to Milwaukee to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is one of the top 5 players in the world. He's an incredibly talented player. and you get someone in Miles Turner, who Bedford, Texas, Euless Trinity product. He's one of the best defensive centers in the league, and he steps out. He can step out and knock down a three. He's a quality 3-point shooter, a quality defender, and that will pull big men away from the paint for Giannis. It's going to open up that lane. And, that's hard to beat there. The only thing that happened with that was Dame Lillard, who was their big acquisition a couple of years ago. He has torn Achilles. He's out for the season, at least the majority of the season. And they had to release him, not outright release him. They still have to pay his salary, but it's what's called the stretch provision. They still have to pay his salary, and they will have dead money on the cap, which means his salary will still be there, but they could sign another player. They still have to pay Lillard, Dame Lillard, his money. He gets to pick his new team now. They basically bought him out. So he's going to a good situation for him no matter where he goes. He's going to rehab, get stronger, get better, and then he's going to have his choice of teams, which there's already a ton of interest. Do I think he's Dame Lillard from a few years ago? No, and you don't know what people are going to be coming back from that injury. That's a devastating injury, especially for an athlete. Once you get into your 30s, it's still a lot of guys don't come back nearly where they were. But Dame Lillard he's a supremely talented guy, so hopefully we can. Hopefully he goes to a good situation after he's fully healthy, and maybe put some team over the top. The Eastern Conference in the NBA is wide open. There's just no set team, and Milwaukee positioned themselves better with the signing of Turner, and it's gonna be wide open. But I think the Mavericks are gonna be right in the thick of the race in the Western Conference with everybody healthy, and it's anybody's game. Oklahoma City right now is the front runner. Obviously, you have to give it to them after what they just did, winning the championship. Sam Presti, once again, covered this. Best GM and maybe one of the best GMs in sports. Definitely the best GM in the National Basketball Association. Let's cover some of the major players changing teams, and just go over maybe what their contracts look like and see what I think about the signing. You had Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a forward, center, big man, very talented, 20-point a game scorer. He re-signed with Memphis for the max of 5-year, $240 million. You had to do it if you're Memphis. You couldn't lose somebody of his caliber. Do I think he's worth 5 years and $240 million? I don't, but to that organization, he may be. He does struggle sometimes. He needs a bulky center, big rebounding type guy next to him to really flourish. But they couldn't lose him for nothing, or even a sign and trade. You had to keep him. He's part of that core with Ja Morant in Memphis, and maybe a bit of an overpay. But at this stage, when guys extremely talented and he's a part of your team, such a core part of your team, you have to do what you can to keep him. Dorian Finney-Smith, former Dallas Maverick, former Los Angeles Laker. He signed with the Houston Rockets on a 4-year, $53 million deal. I have an affinity for Dodo because he was here in Dallas, and he's an extremely talented player. He's a 3-and-D wing. He's one of the best in the league. I think that I love this move for Houston, which is once again, it's disappointing. The Mavericks division, they're going to be a rival. After the Rockets traded for Kevin Durant, they've signed Steven Adams. They also signed Clint Capella in free agency. Former Rocket big man is coming back to Houston. It's a little puzzling with the Capella signing because they already have two centers in Alperen Sengun and Steven Adams. But Clint Capella coming back adds another depth piece, another guy that can rebound and is good off the lob, pick and rolls. It just makes them a little bit deeper. But the Dorian Finney-Smith signing for Houston, I absolutely love that. I think he's going to be exactly what they need. I think he's going to pair well, play well alongside Kevin Durant. I think they're going to be a very tough team. They finished second in the Western Conference this year, won 52 games. They added one of the best pure scorers in the league and didn't really give up a ton of their depth. They still have some good depth pieces coming off the bench. and obviously a lot of it is going to be predicated on Durant's health. But with the guys they signed, especially Dorian Finney-Smith, I think Houston is going to be a tough team to beat. But you could say that about a lot of teams in the West. The Denver Nuggets were NBA champions a couple of years ago. They just made it. They made a huge trade on the first day of free agency, trading Michael Porter Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets for Cameron Johnson. Michael Porter Jr. is a very talented player, good scorer, good rebounder. He's a forward, a combo forward, 6'10", good player, can play both forward spots. They traded him for Cam Johnson. Cameron Johnson is also kind of a combo forward. He's not nearly as big as Porter Jr., but he is very versatile. You can move him around. He can play in different positions. He can defend different positions. I think that adds another layer to Denver's attack when you can deploy a player like Cam Johnson. Talent-wise, maybe they're close. I think Cameron Johnson's just a little bit younger, and I like the fit. I like the fit there. I think he's going to play well alongside Jokic. Denver also brought back Bruce Brown, their guards from their championship team who had left in free agency. They brought him back on a one-year deal. That's going to do nothing but help that bench. It's Denver. Like I said, Denver's another team that's going to be right there. Luke Kennard went from signed with the Hawks on a 1-year, $11 million deal. He's another one of your 3-and-D guys. He's an exceptional 3-point shooter. His defense, I'm not going to say it's bad, but he's a 3-and-D guy. But his defense is good, but his shooting is his calling card. He is one of the best. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, bar none. And I think I like that signing for Atlanta, who they've had a very busy offseason. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, and as part of Boston's salary dump, they've added him. Once again, with him, it revolves around health. If he's healthy, he's a monster. And they added somebody like Kennard, spread out the floor. They have a talented point guard in Trae Young. You get him up. That team has a chance to actually really make some noise this year for the first time. Atlanta actually looks like a quality playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to win anything, but they look like a quality playoff team. Brook Lopez, former Buck center, signed with the Clippers, 2 years, $18 million. That's going to let them play a little bit different style. With Zubac, he's more of a rugged rebounder, a pounder. With Lopez, you have a 7-footer that he could rebound, but he also can step out and knock down a three, and that's going to open up the lanes for James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and some of their other slashers that they have with the Clippers. I don't know that it does a whole lot for them overall, though. Oh, let's see. Who else do we have here? Like I said, I think the West is wide open. I think the East is wide open. The West does have Oklahoma City as the front, but then you have, I think you're going to have teams tearing themselves apart. You're going to have to scrap and claw and really be a talented team if you want to get through the Western Conference and get into the finals. But I think once you get to the finals, I think you have a legitimate shot as long as you're not beat up by the time you get to the finals. I think you have as legitimate shot as anybody does. So, the NBA free agency, like I said, it's a crapshoot because sometimes guys are going to go in a great situation and they're going to flourish. Guys that you already know that you expect to be good. Other times, you have guys that are going to walk into that you don't expect, kind of under the radar signings, low level signings, if you will, that go in and they're going to make a huge difference in their team. I can't really pick anybody out of that bunch right now, but I mean, for the Mavericks, you hope D'Angelo Russell. You expect a lot from him. Hopefully, you're going to get a whole lot from him. All right, let's maybe we go back to talk about the Rangers a little bit. They, like I said, they played 4 extra inning games in a row. The bullpen's worn out, but they come back and they tie one. They were down 6-3. You get a massive home run from Adolis Garcia the other night. We'll talk about that more when we come back.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
All right, welcome back into Game On NTX with your host, Bill Lawhn. Once again, I would like to remind folks that our show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth Hub for private offices, co-working, meeting space, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. All right, let's go back into that Rangers topic that we were just talking about. See what we can figure out with this team. The bullpen, they don't have a closer. They don't have a defined man in the bullpen that can say, "Hey, we got this guy. This guy's got it on lockdown." When the game's on the line, they've tried so many guys, and so many of these guys are quality, talented relievers, and they're putting up good stats. But then you look at what they do when they're in the ninth inning, when the pressure's on at the end of the game, and their ERAs are all significantly worse when you put them in that role. They are all really good in the other roles, but you have to have a closer in that role, an actual closer. So, I told John the other day, we were talking about this the other day, and I told him, I said, if you have half of those games where the bullpen doesn't cost you or the offense can't get going, if you won half of those games that you've lost, if those other things were fixed, then you'd probably be leading in the wild card. You're only 3.5 out now. I believe the last I saw was 3.5. You might be leading the wild card, and you wouldn't be that far out of the division, because there has just been so many instances this year where one of those two has let you down. It's very rare that the starting pitching has let you down. You've gotten a lot of stuff, but you have gotten some bad news. Like I said, with Tyler Malley going on the 60-day IL, looks like unless they make a deep run into the playoffs, which right now it doesn't look super likely, you probably have seen the last of him in a Rangers uniform. Cody Bradford, very talented young pitcher, also probably gone for the season. You should have some other guys coming back. We need Josh Borsch to come back for the bullpen. He will help. I still don't believe he's your closer, but he will help. John Gray, I was told John Gray has, he's on his way back, but who knows how long that's going to take him to get back and to be full strength where he needs to be. That was a guy that I had thought about when it looked like we had a surplus of pitching. That's a guy I thought about. Okay, he's got great stuff. Maybe that guy. Maybe they can throw him into the closer role and see what he does with it. And if he doesn't, you slide him back into long relief, because he's got great stuff, and he's pretty tough-minded mentality. But but I don't know what they're going to do with him now that they've had two significant injuries in the starting rotation. Nate Eovaldi's back. Hopefully he can stay healthy the rest of the year. I think you're probably going to start backing off DeGrom a little bit because he's pitched so well, but you just can't be too careful with his health. He's obviously he's not pitching like the DeGrom of old where he's just blowing everybody away, just tons and tons of strikeouts. But the strikeouts are good. He's just going out there and pitching. He's 37 years old. You can't expect the dominant stuff all the time. But the guy he's been phenomenal the entire season. And I know they picked the All-Star starters tonight for both leagues. The reserves are going to be announced within the next couple of days. Obviously, I believe DeGrom is going to be on the staff. Malley might have been if he stayed healthy. There's a chance Nate Eovaldi is there because, like I said, the Rangers starting rotation has been incredible. It's been one of the best in the league, and it's bar none. But but I will say this: here is some bright spot. Here's a few bright spots for the Rangers. Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, the Vandy guys, two guys that were teammates at Vandy, both very talented pitchers. They've been up and down, and you haven't really known consistently what you're going to get from them. But the last two times out for both of these guys have been quality starts, and so you start getting quality starts from these guys. You've got DeGrom, you keep him healthy. Eovaldi's healthy. There's four quality arms right there, and if you have a passable fifth starter, you could possibly make a run if you get the bullpen fixed and maybe add a bat or something. Josh Young. Obviously, they were not expecting Josh Young to struggle like he has. He started off the season, he hit very well, but lately he's swinging at pitches that he has no business swinging at. It's like he doesn't even see it. He's just swinging the bat. So they sent him down. Hopefully, whatever he needs fixed, whatever problems he's having, hopefully he can go down to the minors, get it sorted out, and come back up. It does make it a little easier because Jake Berger's returning to the lineup. Jake Berger's going to probably be your DH more often than not. He's an okay first baseman, but historically he hits better. His numbers are better when you throw him in and just have him. He can just focus on hitting. It makes sense that he would go back and play first, and you could slide Josh Smith, who's been playing first, over to third. But I don't know that that's their plan. It may be some, like tonight, Josh Smith was still starting at first base, and Ezekiel Duran was taking third base. So we'll have to see on that. But hopefully Josh Young, if he can go down and he can get right and come back up and be a part of this lineup, the middle of this lineup, it's going to be a very deep lineup. Evan Carter's on the bereavement list, so you're going to have to be without him for just a little while. The lineup can hit. I don't know what you're going to get from Zeke Duran. I don't think you're going to expect a ton out of him, but I would throw Berger back in at first and move Josh Young. Despite the fact that he's played okay at first, he's still learning the position. This man is a Gold Glove caliber fielder almost anywhere you put him. He won the Gold Glove last year in the American League as the utility player. They play him in so many different positions: short, third, first. Now he's played the outfield some, and everywhere you play him, he gives you good, solid defense, and he hits the heck out of the ball. You put him anywhere. Josh Smith is just a ball player. Now I know I have a close family member of mine, Charles. Charles didn't love Josh Smith when they acquired him in the trade for the Yankees. Charles was not a fan, and I understood because Josh Smith, who's this guy, was you didn't really know who he was. You got him in a trade. He was like an extra piece or two in the trade, not really a big name, but he's come in here and he's just continued to work and continue to get better. And he is honestly one of my favorite players on the team now, and Charles has even come around him. Charles is a big fan of Josh Smith, and rightfully so because he's done so many things to help the team. Will he ever be a star in this league? Probably not, but he's a guy that you want to have on your team. He's a guy you would love to have on your team because of the type of player that he is. He's going to be great in the clubhouse. He's going to do whatever the manager asks him to do, and he's just going to go out. He's going to play good defense everywhere you play him, and he's just going to hit. He's going to hit no matter what part of the lineup you're in. We did see something last night that was very positive. The young outfielder Osuna, first major league home run. It was a beautiful home run. He really got a lot of it, and for his first major league home run to be at home, he's been up for a while. He's been scuffling a little bit. Very talented player, plays hard, but to see him get on the board with his first home run like that, it was a really cool deal. I always enjoy seeing players when they first come up and they get that thrill of of trotting around the bases like that. It has to be exciting. And for those of us that grew up loving the game of baseball, you can only imagine, because that's what you do in the backyard. It's Game 7 of the World Series. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. You hit a home run to win the game. It's that takes me back when I see that. It takes me back to the kid part of me, the little kid part of me. But they, on top of the lighter and rocker, on top of the young guys pitching well the last couple of times out, DeGrom pitching well. Hopefully Nate. I think Nate's going tonight. Hopefully Nate does well. You start getting these guys going. Corey Seager, it sure appears like he's getting it going, because Corey Seager, he's been hitting the ball very well lately. The last couple of games out also. Dulles Garcia. I mean, what can you say? He's scuffled. He scuffled this year. He carried us in the ALCS and the World Series, in 23 when we won it. So it's you get him going, you get Seager going. Berger's back in the lineup. Berger was sent down early in the year, wasn't hitting, went down, worked on some things, came back up, and he's played well. He's hit well. Of course, he gets hurt, so that slows some things down. But you've had so many slow starts from this team. Marcus Semien was atrocious to start the year, especially with what you're paying him. That was a huge disappointment. Semien has gotten right, and over the last, handful of games, they said he was hitting 350, which is with over 1,000 OPS, which is, for those folks that don't know, that's doing incredibly well. He's a key piece of this team. He's a leader on this team, and to see him getting right, you've got guys that are starting to hit the ball. Last night, let's hope that it will be a catalyst going forward, because you saw this, a couple of weeks ago. They played 2 games in Minnesota. They won 2 of the games in Minnesota. They scored 16 runs in. But this team it's historically this. You could score 16 runs. Next night you can come back and get shut out. Even if they've made average pitchers look like world beaters. But they have to find some consistency. They have to get hits when it matters. Get runners home from scoring position with less than 2 outs. Especially if you have a runner at third. That's one of the things that cost them the game the other night. Runner at third, only 1 out, extra innings. They couldn't get him home. They just have to find a way to get that as an offense. And I know Brett Boone was put in not an ideal situation. He was brought in as a hitting coach early. He was already into the season. They weren't hitting. They replaced the hitting coach, with Brett Boone, who multiple-time All-Star in the major leagues, very talented guy. And honestly, if you look at the stats, they have gradually improved, but they still have to get to where they can hit the ball when it matters. Because you're if you can't get clutch hits, it's going to be tough, and especially with your bullpen like it is. But there's good teams. They find ways to pick each other up. When one unit is struggling, the other 2 units are strong, and that's the thing. You pick each other, and when things are clicking on all cylinders. That's when everything's great, everything's going well, that's fine. But you're going to have lulls in a season from whether it's your offense, your pitching, or your starting pitching, or your relief pitching. You have to be able to weather the storms with the other areas of those teams picking it up. The Rangers, it's just been so debilitating, the fact that they can't get the big hit when it matters. And even their starting pitching has been so great, and you go into your bullpen coughs up the league, and your offense is not good enough to rebound and come back and score. Now, they've done that a couple of occasions where, hey, it looked like they were going to lose the other night. Adolis Garcia, 3-run homer, huge, ties the game. Still end up losing because the bullpen can't hold the lead. It's so frustrating, because you feel like the Rangers, they're right there, but they just can't seem to get over that hump. And hopefully, like I said, last night was a catalyst, and it carries over, and they can go on a run here before the All-Star break's coming up soon. But hopefully they can go on a run pretty quick before the trade deadline, and you have a clear understanding of this. I think it's pretty clear what you need now. You need a bullpen piece or 2, and you need somebody that can hit the ball. That's a clutch guy. It doesn't have to be a big hitter, just somebody that's good in the clutch. Which I don't know how you can't always tell that, just in small sample sizes, but. All right, I'm gonna change gears here. We're gonna get back into hockey a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Glenn Gulletson. I think this has a potential to be a really good hire. He's, like I said, he's been in the league now for a long time. He, as a minor league coach before he got the Stars job, he had outstanding teams, contended for the championship every year in the minors. When Dallas hired him, like I said, wasn't a great situation. It was like I said, the team at one point the team was owned and was basically controlled by the league because they didn't have an owner because they were in bankruptcy, and they finally sold the team. They bring in Jim Neal, like 12 years ago. They bring in Jim Neal, and obviously Jim Neal's still there today. He's won the award for the best GM in the National Hockey League 3 years in a row, and that's amazing to see that. Especially since you haven't won a championship in those 3 years, but you have built good quality teams, 3 conference finals in a row. But anyway, Jim Neal, one of his first things when he came in that he did was he made some trades, but he also let Glenn Gulletson go. And like I said, Glenn Gulletson's still young, may not have been ready. Jim Neal wanted a more. He came from the Detroit Red Wings. He wanted a more experienced head coach, and he got one. We brought in Lindy Ruff. Very, very tough coach, very hard-nosed coach. And the Stars went through some lean years there. They Jamie Benn was the captain. He wasn't the captain, right when Jim Neal took over, but it wasn't long after that he was named the captain, and he has been ever since. And so he's a connection. Getting him back with Gulletson, I think that's going to be a little. I think there will be a little continuity there. That's one of the good things I like about Ben coming back is the fact that you have a new coach. You kind of want a calming voice in there from your players, and we're going to have to see how Gulletson. From what I understand, he is a player's coach, and you're going to need that because. You can't go overboard with it, but you just lost. Pete DeBoer, one of the reasons he's not here is because he lost the team, because he wasn't communicating with the team. Pete DeBoer is a phenomenal hockey coach. He wins everywhere he goes. He wins up to a certain point, though. He's got so many conference finals, so many cup finals, overall cup finals, but he can't seem to get over the hump. And he's a style of coach that now I've heard about this in other sports. They're good for a few years, but after a while with the same team, it starts to wear out because Pete DeBoer is a great hockey coach, and when he does decide to come back, he's going to have his pick of teams. I'm sure he's going to go into a good situation for him, and he's going to build his team, and they're going to be a great team because it's just what Pete DeBoer does. He coaches great hockey, but after a while, he's a grinder, and after a while, that grinding style starts to wear on your players, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. It gets to a certain point, and it all came to a head in the Western Conference Final, and what ended up being the last game of the season for the Stars. Jake Ottinger, the goalie, gave up two goals pretty quick. DeBoer yanked him, didn't really communicate with him, didn't really make a difference because Edmonton smelled blood, and it didn't matter who was in goal. They were gonna stomp on the Stars until the Stars had nothing left in them, and that's exactly what happened. The Stars kept fighting, to their credit, but by this point it was already too far gone. And then after the game, DeBoer wasn't really bothered by the fact that he yanked Ottinger. Was it a quick hook? Yeah, but I mean, he had to do something there, right or not right. But in the exit interviews with the players, I think Pete DeBoer losing the locker room, I think that ultimately doomed him to not be back, because I guarantee you they talked with the players, and the players, if you don't have your players on board a little bit, and especially in pro sports these days, if the players if they're not gonna go to bat for you, then, and the owner already has questions, and the GM already has questions, then you're probably not going to be back. As good a coach as Pete DeBoer is, for this group, they probably needed a change. So we'll see what Glenn Gulletson does. I'll give you a little bit of backstory. I've already told you about that when he was here before. After he left here, he went over to Calgary. Was the head coach in Calgary for a couple of years. They had some good teams, but they weren't ever really, they never really got past a certain level. Like I said, Glenn Gulletson, he was still a young coach at the time. He went over. Since then, he coached. He's coached in Edmonton for the last 7 years. He's been one of their assistants. They've had, obviously for a portion of that, they've had Connor McDavid. They've had Leon Draisaitl. Those guys are outstanding, and they're going to make any power play look good. But it's coming, and like I said, coming from that system, he knows what they do. Dallas is what the team that they can't seem to get over that hump with is Edmonton. 2 years in a row, Edmonton has knocked them out in the conference finals, and maybe Glenn Gulletson coming over here, maybe he knows some tricks to slow those guys down. But Dallas has to get tougher. It showed in that Edmonton series. They were worn out, going in. They played Mikko Rantanen double shifts at the end of the Colorado series and at the beginning of the Winnipeg series. They were lucky to escape the Winnipeg series with the win, but they somehow did. But I believe that they were just gassed. You weren't getting contributions from some guys that you needed to get contributions from, and they just ran out of gas. And ultimately you're going against a faster team. The speed, watching the finals, it's a different level of hockey than what the Stars play most of the time. Dallas is a talented team, and they can overcome a lot of other talented types of players. But you get in and watch just how fast Edmonton is, and just Connor McDavid. He's a huge individual, and he's coming down it's like a tank with a Ferrari engine. You struggle to stop him, but anybody struggles to stop him. But they seem to play, and Florida seems to play at a different speed. Those two teams, it was a good final series again this year. Obviously, Florida won again, beat Edmonton twice. So, but like I said, Glenn Gulletson coming from there, he's built a good power play. I like the rule as far as the three pass rule. Like I said, one thing you have to guard against, in my opinion, with that is you don't want to just throw a shot on net with the third pass, because if it's not there, don't force it. But I think inherently, I do think it breeds a more aggressive style. It's gonna be a go, attack. You're gonna play downhill. Like I said, hopefully bringing Radek Faksa back, who was here before. Colin Blackwell's a fairly tough guy. Hopefully you're gonna have some toughness back there, which you need to have. Jamie Benn, I love Jamie Benn. He's the captain here. He has been for so long, and he's an agitator. He doesn't mind mixing it up. But you watch that Edmonton series, and Dallas they flat out got bullied. Corey Perry you have Luke Bischel, who's a young defenseman. He's a massive human, and Corey Perry had him on the ground, and Bischel was in the fetal position almost, and Perry was over there making fun of him. So, if as a leader, as a tough guy, you're not gonna. Most teams aren't gonna put up with that, and maybe it's just youth from Bischel. Maybe he has to grow into the role, but you need somebody like him to be an enforcer. When another team cheap shots one of your really good players, you need somebody like to step up, and I'm not gonna say take them out as far as injure them, but you're gonna have to put a hit on them so they remember. And Jamie Benn will do that during the regular season, but you didn't see hardly any of it during the playoffs. It's another one of those guys that I'm not going to say he disappears during the playoffs, but you have to have more. You have to. He's your leader. He's your guys get run over. Your guys get smashed. And some of it was just legitimate, normal, hard-nosed hockey. But there was also some cheap shots by Edmonton trying to take out some of your best players. Some of the shot against Mero, it took him off the ice. And like Pete DeBoer said, if that was Connor McDavid, it would have been a game misconduct. You might have been out of the game, for the rest of the game. But it happened to Heiskanen. There wasn't even a penalty called on it, and it was blatantly obvious. But as a leader, you see that as a tough guy. You see that it's like, okay, they took a cheap shot on our guy. We don't have to go take a cheap shot on them. But you have to there has to be some form of retribution. You have to show other teams that actions have consequences. When they go after your guys, you have to be able to know somebody's got your back. It's like in baseball when you have a batter get hit, if you feel like it was intentional, because say the guy hit a home run before, and so when he comes to bat, the other team hits him. You're going to have, as just about any pitcher in the league, on a team that's starting that game for the other team. His guy gets hit. He's going to go back out there. If he felt it was intentional, he's going to go back out there and he is going to intentionally drill the other guy. That's how it works. And in hockey, you have to have the same thing. You have to have Dallas has to find some toughness. It's just they're too talented to get stopped at this point. But you also have to have Otter show up. Is he only a regular season goalie? Is he a guy that's only going to get you to a certain level? Right now, you really don't have the option to find out because there's not a lot of great options out there. And I do think Jake Ottinger, he is one of my favorite players in the league. He is, I have one hockey shirt with a name on the back of it, and it is Jake Ottinger because he's one of my favorites. And I think Jake Ottinger's a wildly talented guy. But it's much like Connor Hellebuck. He kind of disappears a little bit when the lights are bright. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see with that. See what Glenn Gullitz and see if he can bring a little toughness. If he can bring a little more aggressiveness to this team. Some things that have been lacking. Hopefully they can find that. They can find what they're looking for with this coaching hire. I do think that I do like the guys that they brought back. Out of all the guys that I'm going to miss, that I think the team is going to miss most, it's Mikael Granlund. He was part of that Finnish mafia, that line with Rantanen and some of the other guys, Heiskanen. I think they're going to miss that a little bit. But like I said, with them being up against the salary cap, I think they had to let some guys go, and Granlund unfortunately was one of those guys. I think Ceci were going to, and Dodano were solid players, but I think they can be replaced. And so Marchment, I'm going to miss Marchment as a player, as a person. The one thing I'm not going to miss Marchment about is the penalties, the needless penalties that he took. He's a guy that will fight with you too, but a lot of penalties he took were just, there was no need for them. I mean, and it cost you in certain instances. It cost you games. It cost you games, and you can't have guys doing that. So as much as I love Marchment, it's probably a good thing that he's not here. And part of that was salary too. Part of it was you really you didn't want to pay him. Matt Duchene coming back, I'm very fond of that. I'm very happy with our captain being back. But the other guys that you brought back, Blackwell, like I said, you need some toughness from him. Maverick Bork, talented young player. Lundqvist is a talented player. And you got them on good team friendly deals. You're not gonna have to break the bank. You didn't have to break the bank to keep the guys. Radek Fox are coming back on a 3-year, $6 million deal, $2 million a year. That's not cheap, but that's also not a massive contract for somebody that I think he can make a difference. I think he's going to add some things. Well, like I said, we'll see with the Stars, the Rangers. Hopefully, last night was a harbinger. I don't know how we're doing. I don't know how we're doing so far today. Hopefully they've got everything they need. Thank you for joining me tonight, everybody. Don't forget to join us next week, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Hopefully, Big John will be back with us. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're